quite a few different kind of cards using supplies that we find at the Dollar Tree. The first one was really sweet and simple, and it was intended to be for some of the people in your life that provide a service that makes your life better. Your postal carrier, teachers, the people who pick up your recycling and your garbage. Like, these are people who add to your quality of life. So it's nice to remember them during the holidays. I like to pick up small wrapped boxes of chocolates and then add a card to it just so that they know we're thinking about them. And then if they enjoy having a treat, they can have it. If they don't, they can re-gift it and let someone else have a little bit of Christmas spirit as well. The second kind that we did recently was our upcycling. So we took a pretty standard card from the Dollar Tree that you can find during the holidays, and we kind of took all the parts and combined them in a different way so that we could make them a little more handcrafted and layered. And so that was fun. Now for this project, we're going to be thinking about random acts of kindness. And so these are just cards that I'm going to tuck into my bag. When we go out, we only have a few stops left to make before we're all ready for the holidays. But if I see someone letting another person get in front of them in line, I'm going to be thinking about how kind that is and give them a little gift. And this is just going to be a card. You could easily tuck in a gift card for maybe $5 for your local fast food restaurant. I don't think that would get them a full meal, but they could get a coffee and a cookie or muffin. So that would be something, if you want to include something small in your random act of kindness, that would be a generous thing. That way they could choose what they wanted to get from that. But you don't have to. This is just a totally stranger kind thing to do. If you see someone giving really good service at the store you're at, or is being especially cheerful, these are just random act of kindness cards. I'm giving them away to people I do not know. And so for that reason, I'm definitely not going to write Merry Christmas in them. I know this can be kind of a divided topic, but there are a lot of people that celebrate more than just Christmas. Lots of things to be enjoying during December. And if you're giving it to someone you don't know, if you're not really sure exactly what they're celebrating, I think Happy Holidays is a perfect all occasion greeting, and that would be perfect for everyone. Or perhaps you could say Happy Holidays, Merry Everything. I've seen people write that as well. And so I think that's perfect if you're giving these to people that you don't know, because you're not really sure what they're celebrating. Okay, so down to the cards. My inspiration for these were the gift tags. I picked these up at the Dollar Tree, and there's two kind of different styles that I have here, but there were a whole lot more in the store. What I like about them is they look like focal images to me. They're very sweet. They're all mostly round. They have a little bit of a fold at the top, but we're going to work around that. You can enjoy all of the foiling here. They looked like very finished ephemera pieces, and so there are 4 of each design in these packs. That gives you 16 different focal images that you don't need to do anything else to except take the back portion off. And another thing I really liked about them is they all coordinate. So if you're doing a quick craft or a kid craft or a take-along craft, you don't need to take a lot of supplies. You could easily do a lot of paper layering with just a cutter and your adhesives and make these really special. You can layer these up as little or as much as you like. If you want to put flowers on them, that would definitely be a very generous token during the holidays. I'm not going to do that. My rule was that I was just going to use these images, a paper pad, and then some cardstock for borders in the card itself. So I can get 16 cards from this one pack. And then I chose a 6x6 paper pad. You could just pick one design and duplicate it. That would be very quick and easy and would help you get through quite a lot of a paper pad. If you're like me, we're just trying to get through a quantity of stash so that when new collections come out, we'll make room for them. But it just made me so happy that they all coordinated with this paper pack, so I only need to bring one. So I'm going to add some doilies to some of them, and I can just pre-cut those and then use this as a busy project to do while I'm watching football, or if I'm going out and I am waiting for someone, or I have just a coffee date. You know, there's plenty of ways to craft and get a lot done quickly, especially if you pick one design and make them all in that design. So another thing that I liked about the foil ones is that you could maybe consider using some white background. That is a challenge for me, but I see a lot of clean and simple cards made with this and maybe a little stamping for sentiment. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. So if you don't have a lot of pattern paper to use up, you could definitely consider these more detailed ones and then make them. This is kind of more elegant, maybe I want to say, because there's all that extra gold foiling. So these are really pretty. And like I said, you get 16, so it's a good value. I need to get through a quantity of paper. So here's just my little stash of 6x6 paper pads. There's so many here. I just feel like if I don't just go through them and not try to be sparing or reserve the special patterns that I really love, I'm just going to live with them forever. So my plan is not to hoard the paper anymore. I just need to get through it because I know there will be some that I really like and I won't have room in my stash for them. So my first card is going to be one I make often, and these are going to be A2 size cards. So they're all just 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. These are all pretty simple. And so my first one is, I think, a really good plan to use a lot of it, but also the offcuts can be added as layering elements. So if you've cut your paper, you might have a alternative pattern on the other side and you can flip it and add it. This one was a portion of another pattern, but you can mix and match them as you go along. And so this really helps to cut these really quickly because they're just all going to be straight cuts. There's no fancy die cutting on this one. And this is another one that will be good for little people to help you with because, like I said, it's not intricate and you don't need a lot of fancy glues and stuff. So here is a doily. This is crisp white paper cut because I want to neutralize a little bit of that background. And so I'm adding that. This is a Recollections die. If I can find it on Amazon, I'll link it. Otherwise, I think any really good chunky doily die would work. And then I'm going to add my focal image. So I cut the back portion off. You can see they have the same pattern as the background on the back. So you would open this and write your to and from inside. I removed the ribbon and then I punched a small hole here and tied that bow back on. So that really skinny ribbon really reminds me of like old time Christmassy retro kind of things. It would always have that very skinny little red ribbon on it. I popped this up on a spacer so that it would have a little extra dimension. And then I wanted to show you as well, if you want to die cut and add any extra layering, you could take that back portion and use your dovetail or fishtail die. I don't know why they're always called something different every place you go to look, but see how I was able to utilize quite a lot of that just by kind of offsetting that pattern and cutting into the offcut. So you could add these as a layering element. I'm choosing not to for my card, but definitely something to consider. And so this one has the sweetest little vintagey camper, and that is what we started with when we started camping in an RV. We had a 1966 banner and we made it all retro with checkerboard floors and chrome and teal colors. It was so, so cute. And so this reminded me of that. Now this is just perfect as it is. I put a bit of the cardstock on the inside. You don't have to. You could just write your sentiment in here and it would be good to go. If you're really looking to get through more of that paper, I would recommend adding another layer of pattern paper on the inside and then just a white cutout to put your portion on. And then I think also if you stick with a standard size card like the A2, you could get envelopes that would be relatively inexpensive to put them in, or just wrap them in tissue and that would be fine. So here's one very sweet card that I can use as a random act of kindness. Okay, this next card I'm really excited about because I get to use these Gina Marie Design hexagon dies for the purpose that I originally intended, and that is to create my own background. So kind of a patchwork, and I'm going to utilize lots of my scraps for that. So this is not a use it up project, but more of a design your own background and really utilize your scraps. So that's what I did. And I cut my paper here to work within my regular border. So I've got my red cardstock border that will go onto my card base. But what I want to do is create my pattern on this so that I can remove the excess and have that nice red border. And I also came in with my T-square ruler and just made a registration of where basically the middle is. It's not exactly perfect, but I originally tried to kind of come up with an offset pattern and it looked really challenging. I think that would work well for a bigger project, but for this size, this was going to work better. Now I cut my hexagons with 4 different paper patterns and I cut 2 of each of the patterns. So I've got 2 plaids and also 2 non-geometrics. So that way I could kind of distribute these patterns and come up with a nice balance with that. I'm just watching to make sure. I'm filming a little later than I usually do, and sometimes the light comes in from the back window, but I'll keep an eye on that and hopefully we'll be all right. So first thing I want to do is kind of position this first one as close to the middle as I can, because all of the other patterns are going to work off of that. So what I want to do is I'll put the first one down and then I'll continue to work, but I'm going to speed up that process and I'll pop in a little Christmas music because this could be a little bit tedious to watch, but you'll see how it goes along while I am assembling it. So let's get started. Okay, now that my center anchor is in place, I'm going to start distributing the other patterns around. Okay, so now you can see that I have my first full block patterns in, and then I've just got my corners left. So what I want to do is flip this over. You'll notice I had a line of tape all the way around the outside, and that will help to keep all of these outside edges secure. While I flip it over, I'll just go ahead and remove the excess This was so easy to get these lined up. This seemed like a lot of die cutting, but it really went very quickly because it's just a basic shape and you can pop it out of the die easily. You don't need to bring out your pokey tool or any of that. Just kind of pick your offcuts that you're going to be die cutting and cut them very quickly. Especially for something of this size, it went very easily. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is decide the best placement for these. So I think if I find like this works really well because I don't have the same pattern touching here. I'm gonna just put that right here. And that will complete that corner. Then I can just repeat this process until I have all of these corners filled in. And that will be my background layer. Okay, here is my finished patchwork background. I love it so much. I can't even hardly stand it. I cannot wait to use this die to make even bigger projects or even smaller ones because this has a very tiny little bitty one here as well. Okay, this looks pretty busy, so I don't want to lose the effect of the patchwork that I created. So what I'm going to do first is add it to its cardstock border and then add it to the front of the card base. I'm keeping in mind the deer should be going in the right direction. Otherwise, those geometrics are pretty easy to work with. I love that so much. Okay, so because I don't want to cover up all that beautiful layering, I decided to make my focal image a little bit smaller. And so I just took this small circle die and cut out the center of that image so that I could remove the car portion that's so cute. I'm going to be utilizing the rest of that tag when I get to the next card. So don't worry, we're not going to waste that. And because I wanted this to be a smaller background, I'm just going to use this scalloped edge circle and cut some mirror cardstock so that we're not really covering up too much of this great layering. And so once again, I'm just putting these down. I'm using some spacers because I'm just giving these away and handing them out. I don't have to worry about mailing them and extra postage or anything like that. But this is so cute. Look how precious that is on that background. So I thought it needed a little bit of extra something else. And so I found my Echo Park designer stamps. These are the Christmas sentiment stamp. And I chose this sentiment because I liked that kind of old-fashioned typewriter and then the little bit of the scripty font along with it. And so I stamped that out. I used my favorite thing is extreme black ink, and that is what I always use for sentiments. And so I cut that with a stitched edge die, and now I can add this to my card, and I think it's just so sweet. So this is going to be card number 2. If you want to finish the inside again, you put as many layers in as makes you happy, or you don't need to, just write your sentiment right on there. Okay, so that is card number 2. Now we're on to card number 3. And remember I said we're going to utilize the outside border of the last tag that we removed the center of. And so I just want to go ahead and add a nice large pattern to the back. And once again, finish the inside as little or as much as you like. Then you can start adding on your front layers. Now, I do want to put a layering pattern on. Instead of cutting straight across for this pattern, I just used my Whimsy Stamps border and cut out that scallop with a double stitch line, and it's offset. So I'm going to have plenty of room to add all of my other layering elements. So I'll just go ahead and line this up and utilize the border that is already there. I just love plaids at Christmas time. Okay, here is that doily. Now you can see there's plenty of room for that up here, and we just get a nice generous amount of that background pattern all the way around. And so here is the tag I'm going to use for this. I did use one of each of the patterns, and then this is that border that was remaining from our last die cut. So what I want to do is line this up. I'm going to pull it a little closer to me so that I can get the image in the middle centered nicely and visible all the way around. I put this layer up on a spacer, so it made a little bit of a frame. What I want to do now is come back in and just clip off the excess, because I didn't line them up exactly because I wanted to center my image. So I'll just come in and cut off the excess so that the frame will be the only thing showing on top. Now we've got that done. I put a little bit of double-sided adhesive on the back, and the next thing I want to add before I attach it is a die cut that looks like the top of the Christmas ball, like an ornament. Here is this set. I think this is a Sizzix set, and I used the second from the largest to get this to be the right size. I cut my shape here just from the back of the tag because I knew this paper would coordinate really well, and I'm just going to attach this so that the straight edges line up. That way it will look like a more realistic ornament. I've already gone through and added that ribbon back in, so now it looks like it has a ribbon hanger for the ornament, and I'll just remove the remaining back of the paper tape so that we can attach it to the card. This one went pretty quickly, and because I used just a simple die, it was easy to get that background covered well. So here is this one. I'm making sure to leave enough room for the top of that ornament to fall in that doily image. Okay, this is so cute. And I'm really glad I was able to utilize the offcut from our second card. So now we're going to get on to our fourth and final card. For card number 4, I'm going to utilize the offcuts that I created while making card number 3. And I'm going to create a layered background, but instead of having it divided top to bottom, I'm going to put this as a 3 section running right down the middle. And so I went ahead and I cut my paper so that I could utilize it on the outside portion. This is going to be the inside, and what I want to do is add a couple of these half circles. These were the back portion of that tag, and I'm going to add this before I include the plaid for the middle, and this is just going to be an added layering element, and one for this side as well. I'm kind of lining it up to that wood grain so that I can keep it straight and even. And now when I cover the center, it will hide the watermark that's on here, the trademark. So I'm just going to get that lined up very nicely on the bottom and go ahead and add that. So we've created our own background, and I'll put this on to our card base. I really enjoyed thinking about how to utilize the whole tag, not just the front but the back as well. This makes kind of a fun pattern block to fill in the size of the card. And I'm going to put another one of those recollection doilies down, and my next layer will be that tag. I added my ribbon to the front of this. I just cut a small hole with my crocodile and popped all that up on spacers so that I would get a nice little bit of dimension. And this last card was so easy. So here is card number 4. I'll bring the other cards back in as well. So you can see I did get quite a nice variety of different kinds of cards. If you're looking to work quickly, I would say just pick the easy one and multiply them by as many cards as you would like to have to give away. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my sentiments to the inside and then throw them in my purse so that they'll be ready when I want to go out, and then I can give these out as my random act of kindness cards. So this is going to be our second to last Christmas project for this season. Now we're going to just have one video next week on Wednesday because Friday is going to be Christmas Eve. So we're going to go ahead and have some family time instead of post a video. But then the following week, we're going to just jump ahead and start our crash your stash videos and not wait until January. So that is something to look forward to. And I've actually got a couple of requests in, so that is very helpful so that I know what to plan. Okay, so here's my project for today. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up for the Dollar Tree. Leave me a comment and let me know if you enjoy giving out random acts of kindness as well. If you are not already, I would love for you to subscribe, and remember you can check the description for links to all our social media sites. So I'm wishing everyone a happy and productive day, and I'll see you next week.